If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe. If Isaiah 11 is the guide, is the measuring tool which we use to navigate and figure out who the true Messiah is, that doesn't prove Jesus is the Messiah. It's really quite the opposite. It demonstrates unequivocally that Jesus can't possibly be the Messiah.
Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, I am Black Apple, and I'm calling from somewhere in Florida.
Welcome.
I got a question for Rabbi Tovia concerning the prophecies of the branch of righteousness that should come out of the house of David. According to the prophets Isaiah chapter 11 spoke of the branch or the root of Jesse that should come to rule and to smite the earth with the breath of his lips. And according to Jeremiah, the book of the prophet Jeremiah, in Jeremiah 30, I believe it's 23, 5 to 6, it speaks of the branch of righteousness that should come, that will raise unto David. So in Matthew chapter 2 and verse 23, it says, "And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene." So Rabbi Tovia, based on my understanding, Nazareth comes from the Hebrew word netzer, which means netzer is Netser, which means branch or shoot. So my question to you, Rabbi Tovia, is that according to Matthew 2 verse 23, isn't this fulfilling the prophets or the prophecy concerning the shoot or the branch that shall raise unto David, and who Jesus fulfilled?
Well, just a question before you go. No one's ever asked that question before, so I'm very grateful that you called in. Why do you think the Messiah is called a branch? Like, why is he called a branch?
Okay, all right. Well,
just what are your thoughts on that?
Like,
where does a branch come from?
Yes, sir. I'm giving you my understanding right now. Okay, well, based on the candlestick, it has it has 7 branches. And the candlestick is like symbolic. The candlestick it's symbolic. It's symbolic. It represents a branch, and the candlestick gives light.
The reason why the Messiah is called a branch is made obvious in the first passage of the chapter you quoted from. It's Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. V'yotza chayte migezer Yishai, and a shoot will come forth from the stump of Jesse. V'netzer, and a branch, misharashav yifra, a branch from the root will bear fruit. So what Isaiah has in view is that Jesse is the father of King David, and any of these branches who are descendants of David and Solomon is therefore eligible to be the Messiah. That's why there's so many people throughout history who could have been a branch. Just as a tree may have hundreds, maybe there are trees that have thousands of branches, and any one of them are coming from the same root. And I grant you that if Jesus really was from Nazareth, then that would be the only prophecy he fulfilled. So you're right, Matthew 2:23, you can say, when it says that the family moved to Nazareth, because Matthew's infancy narrative has the family begin in Bethlehem, go to Egypt, but they can't return back to Bethlehem because Herod Archelaus now is the head of Judea, so they have to go rather to the Galilee. And it was in Nazareth, because the prophets say he should be called a Nazarene. So you're viewing that as a fulfillment of Isaiah 11. I'll go, great, I'll grant you that. But what happens then is that you, like everything else, get into more trouble. Because if, in fact, the Messiah has to fulfill Isaiah chapter 11, then he has to fulfill all of chapter 11, not just one word of chapter 11. So, for example, when we're told that the wolf will dwell with the lamb and the leopard will lie down with the kid, that means there'll be world peace. It doesn't mean necessarily that wolves and lions will become herbivorous. You might interpret it that way, but more logically is that there'll be complete a peace on earth, and a young lion and a fatling together and a little child will lead them. There'll be no fear in the world. There'll be a universal knowledge of God. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 9, that the knowledge of God will cover the world as the water covers the sea. And the children of Israel will be brought back for a second time. The first time they were gathered to the land of Israel when they came out of Egypt. The second full gathering of the Jewish people will be in the Messianic age. When the Jews returned to build the second temple, the vast majority of the Jews did not return back to the land of Israel. Most were lost in the 10 tribes. So the full restoration of the Jewish people to their land, the full knowledge of God, that means the knowledge of God will cover the world as the water covers the sea. Animals of prey will lie together without fear with animals who are predators. Okay? Whether you think that the digestive system of dedicated carnivores like lions and will change or not, I don't think so. I don't know many people who think you can believe that. I don't think that's what's in view. But what clearly is being conveyed here is that the world will change for the better. Peace, universal knowledge of God, the ingathering of the exiles, the nation of Israel returning back to their land. My guess is that there have been at least hundreds of thousands of people who were born and died in the Upper Galilee, in Nazareth, right? That doesn't make them the Messiah. They had to fulfill all of Isaiah chapter 11. And when you go back to your pastor and he tells you there's a second coming, don't walk out, run out. That's the biggest red flag, that that you have a spiritual scam in front of you. There's nothing like that in the text. So what happens is Jesus somehow fulfills all the things that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people throughout history were born and died or came from the northern Galilee, which is only about 80 miles from where I live right now, right? That's not enough. You need to fulfill all of it. So that's cool. So I just would say to you this, that when the true Messiah comes, the world will change in a way that you can see. A little child can play by a hole for a serpent. No one will be afraid. What you see in the world, not just today, but in the first century, and the first Christian century was filled with wars. In the year 70, just 40 years after Jesus' putative crucifixion, Judea was destroyed. The Jews went to exile. They weren't gathered in the second time. So yeah, that makes the problem even greater, because if Isaiah 11 is to be our guide, is to be our measuring rod, is to be our light to guide us and to navigate our way to the true Messiah, if we are to use Isaiah 11, then he has to fill all of Isaiah 11, not just one word from Isaiah 11, verse 1. The use of the branch is really instructive, because the branch, just as a tree, I can't think of a tree that has one branch, right? And why isn't the Messiah called a tree? This is very important. Jesse is the root, and then we kind of skip the tree and just go to branch. Well, there's a reason for it, and that is in every generation, someone from the house of David and Solomon is there ready to bring about the redemption. So there are hundreds of branches. And Christians somehow miss this point, or they go one word, but where's the rest of it? that doesn't mean that anybody who comes from Nazareth is therefore eligible to be the Messiah, or anybody from the tribe of Judah, grant that is no. You have to do all of that. And then now, what would you do if you had a false religion? Please don't be offended by this. But if your religion was not a true religion, what would you have to say? Because the person you think is the Messiah did nothing except come from a city called Nazareth, okay, which a lot of people come from Nazareth. You would have to say that there's a second coming. That's the only way you can explain away a false Messiah. It's the only way, and that's exactly what the church is going to tell you, right? And going to then go, and the Jews are blind. The church has so much chutzpah, and we're reading the text, just plain reading of the text, and it is messianic. And all Christians and Jews agree it's messianic. And then the Jews are somehow blind. There's a veil over our eyes, when all we're doing is just reading the text. So I would say there's a code. I grant you that sure, comes from Nazareth, he's from the city of Nazareth, whatever, fine. That proves that Jesus isn't the Messiah. If Isaiah 11 is the guide, is the measuring tool which we use to navigate and figure out who the true Messiah is, that doesn't prove Jesus is the Messiah. It's really quite the opposite. It demonstrates unequivocally that Jesus can't possibly be the Messiah. Thank you for your question. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה